course, speaking of great news, we were delighted when Julie Bishop decided to get rid of $10 million worth of your money going to the Palestinian cause in one way or another. There's still another $33 million. We'll talk about that. But the gentleman who was largely responsible for that, writing in the Spectator Australia magazine, appearing here on Outsiders, was, of course, David Adler from the Australian Jewish Association. David, welcome back to Outsiders.
You don't qualify as a pugnacious opinion.
Apparently not. I was hoping we'd get a mention there from that Australian reporter. Anyway, what do you do? Now, the reason we've got you here, David, you released, speaking about pugnation, maybe not pugnacious, but certainly a very strong response yesterday to this news item from the ABC, which I watched very briefly during Outsiders so that the rest of the nation did not have to. But just have a look what the ABC ran yesterday. See if you can spot what's missing.
The Israeli military has launched a wave of airstrikes against dozens of militant targets in the Gaza Strip. Palestinian health officials say at least 2 people have been killed and 12 injured. 3 Israelis are believed to have been injured by a rocket in the city of Sderot. The Israeli military says its targets included a battalion headquarters and a training facility used by Hamas. The operation is one of Israel's broadest since the 2014 war.
So, David, you have released a press statement saying that you found that this is facilitating terrorism. The ABC are facilitating terrorism. Do you believe that?
I know it's a strong call, but I want to paint a mental picture for you and your viewers. Imagine that there's the Hamas Command and Control Centre in the basement of Al-Shifa Hospital, which is actually where it's located. Wonderful example of using human shields by having a terrorist control centre in the basement of a hospital. And thinking their strategy, and this is a bit satirical, but they write to the ABC and they say to the ABC, we would like your news coverage to have the following elements. Don't mention that we first shot over 170 rockets and mortars into Israel first. Don't say that. Also don't say that for weeks we have been sending firebombs via kites and blown up condoms of all things. Don't say that any of our rockets hit an Israeli home or a children's playground or a synagogue. And all those things occurred, but don't mention it. But what you should do in your report is to start out by saying, oh, the Israeli military is attacking Gaza. Yeah. And when it comes to showing the footage on television, make sure you only show the destruction in Gaza, don't show any of the destruction in Israel. Now, in this fictitious brief, which could well have been constructed by a Hamas strategist, the truth is that our ABC, I'm a bit reluctant to label it that, but the ABC has fulfilled each and every one of those criteria.
So basically what happened is they did, so in their news story, so they do all of those things, and they barely mention, there's a very brief mention of Sderot, a town in Israel, but basically they don't mention the fact that the Israeli response yesterday was directly came after hundreds of rockets fired into Israeli towns, villages, and as you said, the burning of mass bushfires and things through these kites and things. So the ABC ignore all that and simply point out the response, not the provocation.
Exactly. The ABC have delivered to the terrorists precisely the sort of international publicity that they're seeking, which is that they're the victims, that Israel somehow woke up and decided to attack them one day.
And by doing this, your argument is that this encourages more of the same.
Yes.
So that Hamas will realise, well, hang on, we're not going to wear any of the blame for any of this stuff. No one's going to be pointing the finger at us. It's just going to be, we must get a reaction from the Israelis in order to win.
Yeah, there's actually a caricature, a famous cartoon.
Yes, we've got that. Let's put that up on the screen, this cartoon, which probably sums it all up.
Yeah.
If you can see it, talk us through it.
I mean, you can see that it's in quarters.
Yep.
The first quarter is Hamas attacking Israel. No
loads
reaction.
of bombs going across.
Second quarter, the same thing.
Hamas
Third
attacks
quarter,
Israel, loads
thing.
of bombs.
Third
rockets.
quarter is that Israel responds, and all of a sudden there's a journalist saying Israel attacked Gaza today.
And that's a cartoon, but that's what happened.
That's the ABC.
Yes.
Now, in fairness, I should say the ABC is not alone in this. And we've seen a number of media outlets internationally that have had warped headlines conveying the same thing. The BBC has done it, CNN has done it, and frankly, a couple of other media outlets in Australia have also done it as well. But the significance of the ABC, and this has to be emphasised, is they are a repeat offender. They are the most repeated offender, and of course they're publicly funded. And they're the only one in this country, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that has a statutory obligation to be balanced. That's their charter. Now you can say, as you did in an early item tonight, that you have a view about climate change, and you're going to argue that view. That's reasonable. But if you're the ABC on this and on other issues, you're supposed to be balanced. They have breached their charter completely.
Ross.
Well, my only comment is to say thanks for joining us. You're a
well done.
terrific guest. We would encourage the ABC. The ABC is one hand clapping. We would like to see the other hand, in the creation of news. Thank you for drawing our attention.
And I think Andrew Bolt makes the point on his blog, Andrew Bolt's Herald Sun blog, that, David, well done for bringing these matters to the fore, because they have to be discussed, and it's very important that people realise that they are not putting the news in context, and that is the Australian taxpayers paying. But as Andrew says, well done for bringing it to our attention. David Adler, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
We will be back in